That's pretty cool. Okay, we are recording, which is normally my cue to go. If I had £1 for every time I'd seen you live, love that. You could just be making loads of money seeing me live. I saw you in London live. Cool. Oh, well, it's really nice to meet those of you that haven't seen me live before, and welcome back to those of you that have seen me live before. It's always good to see familiar faces on here, although most people always turn off their films because they're like, I'm in my pajamas, I'm eating my Rice Krispies. I don't really care if you're doing any of those things. I still love to see you. So please do put your camera on. Okay, let's get started because I want to go through lots of things about confidence for you today. As people come in, we'll just let them come in. I'll leave Karen and Shelley to do that for me. Thank you very much. Shelley's in her PJs. She doesn't mind. She's all right in her PJs. First time you see me live. Perfect. Well, welcome. I hope you get something out of this presentation. My internet is dodgy. My internet's a bit dodgy today. If my internet goes a bit wobbly, because it has been very strange today, just ignore it. I will stay on. I will be back. So let me share my screen with you. In a bikini, no one needs to see that. I'm all right seeing that. I don't mind that. Okay, here we go. So today we're going to talk about 5 different strategies to present yourself and your business brilliantly, which is what it's all about. I'm going to assume a few things about you today. I'm going to assume that you know that visibility is the most important thing for your business. If you've ever heard me talk before, you will know that one of the things that I always say is 80% of what you are doing in business should be you turning up, being visible. 80%, 20% is delivery, 80% is getting more people to see what you do. And so you know how important visibility is. And maybe you've done one of my courses like Visible. You've done something with me before where I've taught you how to have a multi-layered visibility strategy, which is what I teach because it's so important. But what I have realized teaching now over 6,000 people how to be visible in their businesses to make more money in the last few years is that if you can't present yourself and present your message and what you sell in your business really confidently and with complete clarity so people aren't confused about what they're going to get with you, you end up in a visibility fail. And we can't have that. And it kills me when I've taught someone how to be really visible and they're showing up and they're being really visible, but what they're saying isn't getting across well. They sound like they're not confident in what they believe they're selling, and that's just because of their own confidence, not because they actually don't believe what they're selling is any good. It's just that some people don't come across really sure and really clear about what they can give you. And you really do need to have that if you're going to be selling anything, really. Okay, let me just close down the chat because I can see it bouncing in front of me. There we go. So these are what I think the 3 visibility fails are for most businesses that aren't presenting themselves well. One is you don't even start becoming visible, even if you have a strategy, because of fear, because of confidence issues. Who here isn't even as visible as they know they need to be online with their business right now? Give me a yes in the chat if that's you. I want to know who I'm dealing with. Okay. Brain fog, yeah. Okay, so some people are not even being visible. And that's the hardest one because we've got to be visible. We know we've got to be visible. All right. So the second visibility fail that I see is you present your business and your message. So you are showing up and you are doing it, but in a mediocre or even maybe a negative way, not getting across how good you are at what you do, not booking stages, not booking TV interviews, not booking podcast appearances. Who is in that number 2 category? Put number 2 in the chat if that's you. Okay, so we've got a few in number 2, a lot in number 1. Okay, so you need more of the opportunities and you're probably not getting across what you need to get across. Okay, and number 3 is you do become visible. You are showing up. You are talking about your message, but you hate it. You hate showing up. because you don't feel confident enough. You don't feel empowered to do it. And so you resent that you have to show up at all. Anyone in 3? Oh, we have a few 3s. That's usually the least one that we have. All right, so there's a few with those visibility fails already. I'm too terrified to start. Okay, don't worry, you're not going to be. I'm going to help you with that. So let me just quickly tell you who I am. For those of you that this is the first time that you've seen me, I'm not going to tell you very much about what I do now, only that I run a multi-7-figure business. I make around 4 million a year, and I've done that over 6 years, made 15 million in the last 6 years. And I do that generally working less hours than I did in my 9-to-5 job. And I still get to spend a lot of time traveling with my husband and my 11-year-old twins. And I've done this nearly exclusively through visibility, including podcasting, speaking on stages, PR, doing Facebook Lives. The first 100,000 that I made in the first 6 months of my business came from presenting myself really well on Facebook Live. And networking as well. So I've done it in a few different ways, but all of them require visibility and all of them require me to show up well. So this is why I want to teach you guys how to do this and why it's really, really important that you are visible and that you're confident being visible. So everything I've done so far in my business has meant I have to confidently present myself in a whole range of ways on a daily basis. So many different ways. And if you're in business, you're going to have to do that too. Some of the ways that I present myself daily and that you should be doing is either having your own podcast or being on other people's podcasts, doing Facebook Lives, talking to the media, standing on stages, going to networking events and talking to people in the room about what you do, doing maybe YouTube, doing some videos like Reels on Instagram, being interviewed in different ways, either by the media or for PR. There's so many different ways you present yourself on a daily basis. And if you're not doing that, how are people supposed to know what they can get from working with you? When I teach people to do what I've done, I get a variation of these statements. It's okay for you. You're really confident, which always makes me laugh. You've got that X factor that only a few online entrepreneurs have. You're a unicorn. That's definitely not true. You happen to have been born with a charismatic personality. I take that one sometimes, but I still laugh at it. You just always seem to know what to say. You don't care about what others think about you, and you don't care if you're judged or there's trolls online. That's definitely not true. You're really good at selling. Like I just magically became good at selling. So here's the thing. Everything that I've done is learned. Every part. The fact that some people think I'm charismatic, that some people think I have confidence, the fact that I can sell really easily and with clarity, talking about what I do, not caring about the judgment of others. I've learned how to do all of this from scratch. And if I can learn how to be this person that people say is really confident and you're just naturally good at it, that means you can be naturally good at it, because none of it's natural. All of it is learned. Let me take you back a bit to prove this to you. Some people know my story, but I know that some people on here will not know my story. That's me on the left-hand side with my sister Marie, who now works for me, and my single parent father who brought us up. When we were younger, I was the most timid, scaredest kid that you can imagine. And then I got a scholarship to a private school when we were poor. We were brought up in a council house in Lincolnshire. We were in poverty. I didn't really know that. But then when I was 11 years old, I got a scholarship to a private school where I was bullied every single day until I left school. Ending because I was poor and they were rich, and I was timid and they were not. That ended with a knife to my throat at the age of 16 by one of the bullies, with a whole class of people jeering for that person to cut me. I got out of that situation, but I didn't go back to school because I was terrified of people. Now, I went from that to my first job at 16 years old, 17 years old. And in the job that I was in, because of what had happened to me up until that point, I wouldn't look someone in the eyes. I would just work and I was very quiet. that came across to people like I loved myself. I thought I was better than them. I wouldn't even have conversations with them. And so I got bullied again by a load of women in a workplace. At this point, I became that person that was just terrified of everybody and everything. I was the least confident person you could possibly have ever met. So much so that if I was walking, even 15 years ago, if I was walking down a street and there was a group of girls on one side of the street, I would cross the road, even as an adult, because I was so scared of groups of women. And this kind of happened to me my whole life. My first year in business, I got bullied online again because I wasn't very good at presenting what I was trying to say. And the reality is, I was the least confident person up until a few years ago you would ever have known. And so when people say now you're naturally confident and you naturally don't mind standing on stages, it makes me laugh because it's the opposite to who I am. It's just that I've learned how to be able to do things so that I can sell my services and make more money. And that can be taught. Groups of women scared me for a long time too. I think a lot of us have been bullied in some way, and we've had to use that adversity for good. And I use that to help other people. And obviously now I'm an ambassador for Bullies Out, which is an amazing charity, so that I can help other women that have been through that to now become less fearful and more visible, because it's not fair that people think they can't be visible and sell what they're brilliant at in their business because of fear of what other people might think of them. So how did I change this? How did I go from that person to being able to present myself now in so many different ways, really confidently? I did a few things. I got really clear on my messaging. I knew exactly what I wanted to say, so that when people ask me what I do, I wasn't babbling or not really showing the tangible result of working with me. I just got really clear on my messaging. I became better prepared on the strategy of how to get the opportunities I wanted. Because once you are confident and once you feel like, yeah, this is something I want to do, I want to be more visible, I want to help more people, I want to have more impact, then you need to get those opportunities. Like, how do you get the podcasts and the TV and all of the things? It's about being prepared, knowing how to go after them. I then became a trained TV presenter, purposely, because I knew it was going to teach me the skills that I needed to present my business. So I trained as a TV presenter, and I've trained a few times now in TV presenting, and that's really helped me. It's given me little tricks and tips, just skills about presenting myself in lots of different ways. And the other thing I did, the biggest thing, was I learned confidence strategies, because I knew that it doesn't matter if I could do all of this stuff. If I can't be confident when I'm doing it, it's never going to work. Yeah. So Sophia said, I've missed opportunities because of my confidence. That kills me. Like, that can't happen anymore. So I'm going to teach you 5 of the confidence strategies that I used now. And if you're interested in learning about the other skills I've talked about in that list, I'm going to tell you about an offer where you can work with me and somebody else at the end of this webinar. It's a completely new thing that I've put together for you. But for now, in case you can't work with me on that, I want you to become more confident anyway in whatever you're doing. So I want to teach you about how to do that, how to become more confident. So let's do that. So these are just things I used, and hopefully they'll help you. The first thing is loving yourself. This sounds like such an easy thing to do, but it's such a difficult thing to do. So most confidence issues actually start from a lack of self-esteem, like your love for yourself, your belief in yourself. When we have low self-esteem, we generally seek external validation, right? We want other people to tell us that we're doing well. We want other people to tell us we can do this and that you're good at what you do. But in entrepreneurship, like when we have our own business, that's really hard. It's like being on a roller coaster, because if somebody comes up to us and says, oh, you did a really good webinar, or that was really good that you did, or you're really good at your job, then our confidence goes, well, hey, we're up here, we can do this. We're feeling great. But what if then the next day someone comes up to us and says, oh, didn't like that webinar you did, thought it was a load of rubbish, or, I think you've put on a bit of weight. Or, oh, the way she talks really annoys me. Like, if people say those things, then suddenly we crash down and we go, oh, okay, my confidence is at an all-time low. So we're allowing other people's perception of us and what they think to either make our confidence high or make our confidence low, make our self-esteem high or make our self-esteem low. And we can't do that. So I want to do a little workshop with you to make sure that you have your own self-esteem, you know who you are, you value yourself, and you love yourself. I want you to write down all of the things that you like about yourself. Like, I don't need you to do this now, but I want you to start it now. Whether that's you being a good friend, whether you know you're really good at branding, whether you're a good listener, whatever the things are that you like about yourself, it's okay. No one else is going to see this or think you're bragging or anything like that. I know we're told, especially as women, to shut up and sit down and be quiet a lot of the time growing up. I'm now telling you to do the opposite. It's time for you to take up space. And that means that you have to love yourself. So write down the things you like about yourself unapologetically. And stop worrying that you're not allowed to like things about yourself, because you 100% are. If you can't love yourself, it's very difficult to sell things, because it means that other people will feel that on you and they won't love you either. Once you've written that, I want you to then write down all of the things about you don't like so much. We all have those things that we don't like about ourselves, that we judge about ourselves. You know we want to change. One of the things for me that I always tell people that I don't love about myself, one of my toxic traits, if you like, is that I do tend to make a judgment about people in the first 5 minutes or even 1 minute of meeting them. I'm usually wrong about those people, but it's just a trait that I have where I seem to sum up people too quickly. And that's something that I don't love about myself. I've written it down in the cons column, and it's something that I want to work on. So anything that you think, you know what, I do want to work on this. I don't love this about myself. And maybe you've done things in the past that you don't love about yourself. Write those down too, because it's okay to forgive yourself for things that you've done. When you've written this big continuous list that grows and changes all the time, I want you to pick it up, and I want you to decide that you are going to love yourself and like who you are with everything on that list, not just the good things, but also the not so good things. Because if you can decide to love yourself with the bad and the good, no external validation is going to knock your confidence ever again. It's going to be like you have this like metal guard in front of your self-esteem, the bit of who you are. And when someone says something awful about you or about your work, you're going to decide if you want to learn from it or not. But it's not going in. It's not going to change your confidence. You already know who you are. You've just told me that you're going to accept yourself with both of those things, the bad and the good. So if somebody else says something to you, that's not going to have any effect on who you know you are. On the other side, though, we can't have one without the other. If somebody comes up to you and says something brilliant about you, you can say thank you, but you're not taking it in either. You already know what you're good at. It's great if someone says something nice. That's not going to make your confidence go higher or lower. You already know who you are. You've written down on the piece of paper who you are, and you've loved yourself for that. No external validation or invalidation is going to touch you. So this is something that I did, and I committed to doing this daily. And I had to have a real kind of mindful presence when someone said something to not allow it to make me go, I'm brilliant, I'm rubbish. I'm brilliant, I'm rubbish, because I already knew who I was and I'd already decided who I was. And I want you to have that too, because then you don't get this roller coaster of confidence anymore. You will get a level of confidence, which is so much nicer to live with. So that's my first tip. Who is going to commit to doing that every day? Yeah, it's a bit like shadow work, loving and accepting the parts of us we don't like. That's exactly it. That's what we need to do. Brilliant. I'd love you to do this because it's going to make so much difference to you. Perfect. And, listen to yourself. If you're telling yourself something about yourself you don't like, go write it down. It's on the list. You're still going to love yourself for it anyway. All right, let's go on to number 2. Another way that helped me with confidence was to work on a growth mindset. So someone with a growth mindset views things a bit differently to everybody else in the world. They believe everything is learnable and can be improved on with practice. They don't believe they're good or bad at anything. Everything is learnable. And I really believe that you can learn anything other than the football keepy uppies that my kids keep trying to make me do. I still don't seem to be able to get the hang of that, but everything else can be learned. The opposite of this is a fixed mindset. So if you have a fixed mindset, you believe that if you aren't good at something, you'll never be good at something. I know this not to be true because there are things that I wasn't good at selling. I wasn't good at presenting on masterclasses. I wasn't good at business. I wasn't good at making money. Now I'm really good at making money. Now I'm really good at doing some of these things. I learned them. So I need you to have a think about what you believe deep down. Do you believe that you can learn things? Or do you believe that if you're not good at something now, it will always be so amazing for you to change that and be one of those people? And these people, by the way, that change from a fixed mindset to a complete growth mindset, they change the world. Do not worry if you feel emotional doing these exercises. That's really normal. What we're doing here is inner work. People always tell you they can give you the strategy, but you have to do the inner work as well. That's what this is about. Like, I've already given you strategies hundreds of times. I talk about strategy every day. You're never going to put any of these strategies in practice to make money in your business unless we do this inner work. So we'll do it together. So do not worry if you feel emotional. That's completely normal. I've completely changed my confidence and self-belief since working on my mindset. Brilliant. I'm always learning and growing, achieving new things all the time. Yes, plasticity. We can learn and change things. Exactly. My problem is thinking I can learn about everything. You kind of can, but not all at once. Okay. I'm really glad. For those of you that are sitting there thinking, actually, I do have a fixed mindset, that's okay too, because it's good to be self-aware and know this about ourselves. But I'm here to tell you and prove to you, and my clients will prove it to you as well, that you can learn anything. If I can go from £30,000 in debt to 15 million in 6 years, that should be the proof that from someone that wasn't confident because you heard my story, if I can do that, anyone can do anything. It's just about deciding that you want it enough and then learning how to do it. Okay, if you haven't built a growth mindset yet, you can put it on the list of something that you want to do. You want to learn how to do step by step and be more self-aware. Let's do number 3. This was hard for me. Number 3 was don't be judgmental. So some confidence issues arise from caring about what other people think of us. I really cared about what people thought of me in that first year. Every time someone said something bad or judged me, there was like a knock to my confidence every time. It's like a knife going in every time. And believe me, when you make a lot of money really quickly, you get this all the time. Like, you're going to get people knock you. It's called tall poppy syndrome. You need to be cut down. We want people to do well, but only so far. And then we need to cut them down again. So if we go live, what if someone disagrees with us? What if someone trolls us? What if we get something wrong and people judge us for it? What if we get cancelled? All of these things are the fears that we have. And this might not be from strangers. This could be from your own family or even friends judging you about what you should or shouldn't be doing. Now, there's a load of work that we can do around this. And there's a load of work we will. And I'll tell you about how you can do that at the end of the program. At the end of this masterclass, I'll tell you about the program. But for now, the best first step I found is for you to stop judging yourself first and don't judge others. We can't help it because we're used to it. Remember, as women, we've been brought up to pit against each other. Only one person can win. I've worked out in the last 6 years, that's not true. We can all win. We can all pull each other up. We can all, help each other to win. There doesn't have to be only one winner. And if that's the case, let's stop judging others. When we see something out there that makes us feel like a bit envious, for instance, a little bit jealous, instead of judging that person, let's just decide that we're going to be happy for them, because then that's going to start happening to us too. But also, we are the worst people that judge ourselves. Listen to how you talk to yourself. If you drop something, or if you do something wrong and you mutter under your breath or in your head, oh, I'm such an idiot, what do you think that's telling your subconscious? How is your confidence ever going to get better if the one person that speaks to it every day is you, and you're not telling it that you're amazing? Because you all are amazing. We all are so unique and can do such amazing things if we just allow ourselves to believe that to be true. But if we tell our subconscious things on a daily basis, that's what the subconscious is going to believe, and that's going to come true. So instead, let's start telling ourselves the good things. Let's congratulate ourselves. Let's celebrate who we are instead of judging ourselves all the time. Because that's what we do. We judge ourselves, and we don't need to. We remember things that people have said to us throughout childhood, and we decide that those things are true. And we don't need to. We can decide that they're not true. For instance, I got made bankrupt when I was 23 years old, because I got married at 17 and got divorced at 21. So I had divorce debt. I'm sure some of you have had divorce debt and know what that's about. But a judge in a courtroom looked down to me and said, "You are bad with money." You can imagine how long I carried that around. And I didn't make any money for a long time because my subconscious believed that I was so bad with money because someone in authority had told me that. So every time I spent money that I shouldn't, I was like, "You're such an idiot. You're so bad with money." And I would tell myself that until it became the truth. And actually one day I sat down and realized it wasn't the truth at all. One person had said that to me without knowing any of my circumstances. And then I decided to just let go of that narrative. So stop judging yourself. That's what I did. I stopped judging others. And the next step, get comfortable with the fact you are never going to be liked by everyone. That's so hard for you people pleasers out there. That's killing you. But you are not going to be, even if you are the nicest person in the world and you never say anything you really want to on social media, you never rant, you never say anything negative, you're just lovely to everyone, still someone's not going to like you. So what you might as well do is be yourself. So let's do the judgment test. I want you to write down, if you're really visible on social media, maybe you even get on television, get on the radio, someone says something bad about you. What's the worst thing they could say about you? Mine is, "She has no integrity," or "She's a bully." You can imagine what that does to me. And so because of people know that that's the worst thing, that's the thing I get called the most because they know it will cut me to the core. So I want you to write down the worst thing that could happen to you online. And if you don't mind, I would really like you to write it in the chat. You don't have to, but those of you that want to. "She's full of crap." Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I always ask myself, would I say that to a friend? So why would I talk to myself that way? That I'm not honest, that I'm fake, bad mum. These are brilliant. So here's what I want you to do. If somebody wrote that about you online, would you believe it? You know who you are. Would you agree with it? So if somebody said about me, she's not a nice person, she has no integrity, I know 100% that that's not true. Here's what I don't have to do. I don't have to respond. I don't have to take it on board. I don't have to care if other people believe that it's true, because the right people won't make a judgment from one thing that they've read online. So I want you to know, yeah, you hate the thought that someone thought it, but most of the time those people don't think it. They're just saying something because of how they feel. Remember always, that it's actually the person that's normally mean to you online. It's not that person being mean to you. It's their 6-year-old self being mean to you. It's the person that feels sad, that feels alone, that feels like they have no self-worth. They act out because they have an issue, and it makes, you're holding up a mirror to something. For instance, when I started doing this, some friends didn't like it. Said, oh, who does she think she is? God, or she'll do anything for money, that one. That wasn't them really thinking that about me when they wrote it online. That was them thinking, I wish I had the balls to do what she did, but I don't. And that's making me feel bad. Therefore, I need to turn that attention onto her feeling bad. And that's what people do. They're 6-year-olds. That's how we are. We have these protector parts. So yeah, this says a lot. I can't type it because it hurts too much. That's massive, because that worry that you have is going to stop you doing so much. It's going to stop you being confident enough to really share your message and to go out there. And yes, projection. We really need to realize that it's not, what people think of us is none of our business. It really doesn't matter. Only what you and your closest family and friends think about you matters. And so keep doing that judgment test. What would I do if this happened? Like, what would I think? Would I believe it? If you wouldn't believe it, then it really doesn't matter. And if you would believe it, that means you still have work to do on your self-esteem and loving yourself, because you know who you are. Yeah, it only affects us if we believe it might be a bit true. But it sometimes can affect us anyway, but it doesn't need to. We can make a decision that it's not going to. Let's go on to number 4. Stop with the limiting beliefs and the negative self-talk. I used to have so many limiting beliefs. People where I come from in council houses don't make £1 million. I can't tell you how many times my subconscious thought that. And negative self-talk. Most of you will know I am not very spiritual. I am not what they call woo-woo. But one thing I do know is that so much of what makes us confident or not confident, or natural at this, or believing that we can make lots of money or not, comes from our subconscious. It doesn't come from what we think. I could be saying over and over again, I'm going to make £1 million. If my subconscious is going, nah, you're not, because you come from a council house, I won't make it. Because I won't put the effort in to make it, because my subconscious is telling a completely different thing from my conscious. And so we know we need to feed our subconscious mind at the back there. We need to feed it with good stuff. We need to care what we put in it, and yet we're not really caring what we put in it. One of the ways to check what you're doing to your subconscious is looking at what you're telling it daily. When you say to yourself, I want a really thriving, money-making, successful business, how many of you are actually in the back of your mind telling yourselves that's never going to happen? When I say I've gone from 30,000 in debt to 15 million, and you can too, because I believe anyone can. Who out of you is thinking you'd like to do that, but in the back of your head, you've got a voice telling you that's for other people. That's not for you. Yeah. That happens all the time. I also did this, so I'm not judging you. I had that voice, and that voice used to say such stupid things to me. So when I'd see somebody online that was doing really well, I would say stupid things like, well, it's all right for her because probably she was given a load of money by her parents. It's all right for her because she doesn't have twins. She doesn't have kids to bring up. I'd make this stuff up. I didn't know if any of this was true. It's all right for her because she's thin and I'm a size 16 to 18. And so she's bound to be able to make more money. The things I would do, the things I would put into my subconscious, it's ridiculous. We need to get rid of that voice, because that voice is going to stop you every time. How do you manage it when family members say you won't be able to make £1 million? Just say, watch me. There is no better way to prove someone wrong than to just go out there and do the opposite. So I told you I was bullied in that first year of my business. Somebody wrote to me who was much, much higher up in this online business world than me. And they said, I'm going to make sure you never make any money in this online world. Me and my friends are going to make sure. That was the only thing needed to get me to make millions of pounds. Because if someone tells me I can't do something, I will prove them wrong. So I want you to prove these little voices wrong. But what I want you to do first is change the voices. If you hear yourself saying that you can't and that other people can, that for some reason other people can do these things, but you can't, I want you to stop it. I want you to stop it in its tracks, that thought, and remind yourself that you can do anything you put your mind to. There's people out there doing it, so why not you? Like, we need to change what we're telling our subconscious daily. And the only way that you can really do this is to become really aware of what you are telling yourself. Because at the beginning, you might not even know you're saying anything to yourself. But I remember doing a launch saying I wanted to make 60,000. And I put a little Post-it note on there saying 60,000. And then I had this little thought in my head that I nearly didn't notice that said, you'll probably make 20, but you're definitely not going to make 60. I was like, sugar, I nearly missed that. But it was definitely something I was telling myself. And so I then had to go out there and I had to prove it wrong. Not every thought that goes into your head is true. Remember that. Not every thought that you think is true. And so go out and prove to yourself that you can do these things. Don't keep telling yourself things that are wrong. How can you feel confident if deep down all these things are floating around your head? Of course, that's going to make you less confident. Number 5 is the prep. So the easiest way to feel confident, whether doing a Facebook Live, speaking on a stage, going to a networking event, is preparation. It's why this week I helped so many of you do, your first presentation. Because if you have a presentation ready, you're prepared. You're prepared to get on stage. You're prepared to do things. So at a networking event, one of the things you could do to be prepared is ask for the attendance list to find out who will be there. So you can research them and know who to speak to. That's something I used to do that would make me feel much more confident about walking into one of those terrifying rooms where everyone's in a circle and you somehow have to go in and start saying hi. I'd make sure I knew what they looked like. So I'd go, oh, you do this, don't you? And it would give me something to say. When you're doing a live, Facebook Live, if you're somebody that's like prepared to do a Facebook Live, you're going to find it easier. So one of the things that I did is I wrote down 3 things I wanted to say in bullet point on a piece of paper, so that if I went off on a tangent or went and suddenly forgot everything that was in my mind, which does happen a lot of the time, I would have a bullet pointed list that I could just glance at and know what I was going to say next. And one of the things that I did that massively helped me is I memorized an ending. Because I don't know about you, but when you're on a Facebook Live, you often feel like you're just babbling on and you don't really know how to end it well. And so I came up with an ending, which was, I hope that's really helped you. I will be back another time, but that's it for today. I hope you have a good day, whatever it is you're doing. And I memorized that. And I said it at the end of every single live, so that if at any point I was like, I'm just babbling on now, I could just go straight in to the memorized ending. And that massively helps. So preparation can help you. The more prepared you are on your chosen subject, the more confident you're always going to be talking about it. So one way that I prepare is the what's the worst that can happen game. So I want you to think, if you're on a stage or you were doing a Facebook Live or you're at a networking event, what's the worst thing that can happen? When you think about this in your subconscious, when you think of yourself as not being confident enough to do it, what's the worst thing that could happen? I want you to write it in the chat. Heckling. God, I've not even thought about that. You've just given me a new thing to worry about. Not really. Wow, I never thought about these things. Brain freeze. Yeah, that's mine too. Completely drying up, forgetting everything, lose your voice, fall off the stage. Right, these are brilliant. Blank mind. No one shows an interest. Never worry if they're on their phones, by the way. Most of the time they're taking notes, not just ignoring you. Okay, my wig could move. Right, go bright red, start crying. No interest. Brilliant. Okay, it's good that you know this. This is a really important thing, because if we know the worst thing that can happen, what we're doing is we're laying bare the fear. The real reason that we're not confident in these situations is fear. But if we know what's causing the fear, we can take steps to get over it. So there are 2 things you can do now that you know the worst thing that could happen. 1, you prepare yourself. So in other words, you say, is there anything I can do to stop that happening? So mine was, I would just, lose my train of thought. I would just go blank. I would have no idea what I'm supposed to say. So if I know that that's one of the things I'm scared about, how can I prevent that or mitigate it? Well, I could do cue cards. So I wrote bullet points on cue cards and I didn't use them, but I held them in my hand. So that if I needed to use them, it would take me 1 minute to flick through, see where I am, and remind myself what I'm supposed to say. So that was one way that I prepared myself. It just made me feel more confident going on the stage. The second thing is, if it happens, if the worst happens, what would you actually do? Like if you tripped up the steps, what would you actually do? You'd get up and you'd laugh it off. And everyone would love you for it. And in fact, if you do something like that, when you walk onto a stage, people root for you 100 times more. So it's actually quite a good thing to do. But let's say I forgot what I was talking about, which is my fear. So I asked myself, what would I do? Well, I know my subject. So if I couldn't remember anything I was supposed to say, I would just go back to, what do I want to tell these people about this subject? And I would speak from the heart instead of the memorizing. And that's what I would do. And I know really that if it happened, it wouldn't be the worst thing on earth, because that's what I would do. So let's say someone heckled you. What would you actually do? Like, think about it happening. It might bring you out in a cold sweat, but what would you do? You would laugh and you would say, you'd come up, the preparation bit that I would do there is to come back with some really, really witty remark like comedians do. And I'd have it in the back of my head ready to use at any hecklers. And then I would just continue. So always know what you would do. Yeah, laugh it off and be witty. Exactly that. Once you know what you would do, you don't need to worry about these things anymore because you've prepared yourself for them. I just, exactly. Okay. So these are just 5 things that helped me to get more confidence in all of these different situations where I have to present myself. There are so many reasons to work on your confidence, but the reality is that as a business owner, you have to be confident. You have to be confident enough to present yourself and sell to clients daily. Every day you need to be selling. And confidence is a learned behavior. I'm proof of that. And so are all the other ways to get great at presenting. Remember, get clarity on your message, knowing how to get the best opportunities to present your ideal clients, knowing those little tricks that us presenters know that make interviews, Facebook Lives, selling on webinars really, really easy. I've helped loads of people with the strategy of being visible. So now it's time to help you become brilliant at presenting yourself too, so that you can feel really calm, really confident, really clear when selling your services, talking to the media, standing on stages, doing trainings in people's groups, podcasting, and all the other things where we need to show up really calm and clear in business. But I'm going to tell you about the new offer that I have, but I'm going to introduce you to someone first because I wanted to bring in the best to help you with this. So I'd like you to meet my business collaborator for this project, Andrea McLean. I'm going to bring her on in a second, but I just wanted to say who she is first. I'm sure that she needs no introduction, and most of you already know who she is. She's a multiple Sunday Times bestselling author. She started her broadcasting career as a weather presenter after misreading a job advert. She worked her way up to co-anchoring GMTV and became the longest serving host of Loose Women, which I know lots of you love. Together with her husband, she's now co-founder of This Girl Is on Fire, a personal growth and communication business, where she also teaches confidence and how to deal with the media. So I would love to ask you, let me just make sure that Andrea is actually unmuted. I'm sure somebody on my team will have unmuted her by now. But Andrea, question for you. I would love to know why you think that confidence is so important in business.
Well, before I say that, Lisa, can I just say what an amazing, amazing presentation. That was so good. You know, you might think, considering this is something that I do for a living, it is something that I've worked on myself for over a quarter of a century, that I'd just be sitting here going, yeah, I know all that. Not at all. It goes right back to what you were saying about having, you know, a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. I literally was scribbling notes all the way through it, just literally underlining and going, Yes, yes, yes to all of that. I'm so glad I was muted because I was whooping. It was so good.
Oh, I'd like to hear you whooping, Andrea. I like a bit of whooping.
But to me, this absolutely 100% underlines why the two of us work so well together. And if some of you are watching this and going, wow, I never would have put those two together, it makes total common sense, because actually at our core we are so aligned and so similar. Because the first thing that I wanted to address is something that you touched on, is the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room that I get all the time when it comes to talking about confidence or presenting, which is something that we're going to be working on together, is those famous words, but it's all right for you. And what I would say to that is to underline everything that Lisa said. It's all right for me now, because nearly 25 years later, clearly I'm really good at it. But all of us can think back to something that we are good at that we just totally take for granted because we've done it for so long. We all have something that we're good at. This just happens to be my thing. But I didn't wake up, oh, I'm going to be amazing at presenting today. Of course not. When I first started, I had a squeaky little Minnie Mouse voice. I was so shy. I was so introverted. And even though, I'm the most confident person in my kitchen, but it still took a lot to, put myself out there as me. It's very different to doing drama and things like that when I was at college and at school, because you're pretending to be somebody else. I had to learn it. Exactly what Lisa said. I had to learn how to present well as myself and keep my own sort of personality. And all of the things that Lisa has mentioned here is what we're going to be talking about. So there's so many things that I want to pick up on. You know what you said about what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst thing that somebody could say to you?
Yeah.
Instantly it came into my head. So yes, I did first get into mainstream television. I'd worked on satellite television for a little while because I did misread a job advert. That is a fact. I ended up on GMTV, which is amazing. And then I let them know that actually I was a trained journalist, and I had a degree, and I had a bit more about me. And I kind of worked through the ranks. I was on breakfast television for 11 years, and I ended up getting to the hallowed sofa. I actually was co-hosting with Eamon Holmes. And I remember on my first day doing it, what would the papers say? What would the reviews say? And this was before the days of social media. So really, on the plus side, at least you're restricted to only journalists slagging you off. It wasn't just any old person picking up a phone and going, well, she's rubbish. And I remember the words were, we have now found the most irritating woman on television, and her name is Andrea McLean. And I was devastated. I'm so devastated because I'd put so much heart and soul into it. I'd done all the prep, I'd researched, I thought I'd done a good job. But once the kind of hurt settled down, I sort of thought about it and thought, right, what could I improve on? What could I get better on? And I realized actually when I'm nervous, like now, my voice sounds at a totally normal level. I've had to work at that, because when I get nervous, and so many of you watching this will appreciate this, whether it's you're pitching or you're at a networking event and you've done what Lisa said, you've done your prep and you know who to go up and talk to, your voice is up here and you don't even sound like yourself anymore. So yes, I had to learn how to take a breath and just lower, because we're tuned to, if you think about why do you love those radio presenters so much and those podcasters so much, it's because their voices at a certain level and they come over as trustworthy and you believe what they say.
Yeah, it
so
did.
but it can all be learned. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it massively can. And as soon as I found Andrea and we got talking about this real need to instill confidence and give people the know-how to go and get the opportunities to then show that confidence and to be visible, then I knew I had the right person to work with on this, because Andrea's brilliant at this, and you'll see that by everything she does. So let me introduce to you our new program that we're doing together, which is called Presenter. And no, that doesn't mean you need to be a TV presenter. That's not what we're teaching. Although if you do want to be, you will definitely pick up some tips. It's not about that. It's a 6-week live program. So we're going to do it live, both of us. We're teaching different parts of it. One of them we're teaching together. to teach you everything you need to present yourself brilliantly in business in so many different ways, so that you will have no fear, complete clarity and confidence, so that you can grab hold of the best opportunities, and I'll tell you how to get them, to become more visible and ultimately make more money in your business, which is what this is about. I want people to say, she's everywhere and she's so natural at this, because I believe that that's what you can be, that you don't need to miss out on opportunities because you don't have the confidence and the clarity to know how to get them as well. So what you'll actually get is tailored support. So over 6 weeks, Andrea and I will use our joint experience to teach you step by step each part of the process. You know I love a step by step, so that you end up transformed in your way of thinking. We're going to do that inner work, and knowing how to get the opportunities, the strategy piece, to use your newfound presenting skills and confidence. There will be time at every session for questions. We want to help you bespokely, so there will be question time. You will also have a private client group. So if you need support in between calls, we've got this private Facebook group. It's the perfect place. But also, we're going to use this group to practice. So if you're worried about doing live speeches, we're going to use this group. It'll just be us to practice in. And we can connect with each other on a deeper level here and help each other in different ways. So these are going to be the outcomes of the program. So module 1, we're going to talk about the confidence and mindset to present yourself and your business. Module 2, we're going to do a workshop on how to do Facebook Lives really well. And actually, that will also help you to do things like Reels, IGTV, anything where you're having to do quick to camera. Pitching, how to get the best opportunities by clarifying your message. Your message is so important. Your story angles, how to pitch to podcast, press, TV, and more. Module 4, we're going to concentrate on podcasts, how to not just interview, because you might want your own podcast, how to interview well. And remembering that Andrew has interviewed the likes of the most famous people in the world. You've interviewed Oprah, haven't you?
I have interviewed Oprah. So I will also be teaching you how to deal with the worst stress in the world, because you can imagine how scary it is interviewing someone like Oprah. So I'll teach you some techniques that I used to overcome nerves.
Perfect. And to be interviewed, because people are going to want to interview you at points as well. And then module 5, we're going to talk about dealing with the media and getting known for what you do. And module 6, we're going to talk stages. So I now get paid over £10,000 to speak for an hour on stages. I'm going to tell you how to craft your story, how to present brilliantly on a stage. We talked a bit about your presentation in the challenge this week. We're going to go a bit deeper into that so that you can know how to get those stages and get paid for stages as well, because I think that's important. So it's your time to become the presenter you know you can be, to present your business really well. Stop letting a lack of confidence or a lack of training hold your business back. The world needs to hear your message. The investment to work with both of us over this period of time is a single payment of $997, or we're going to allow you to pay over 6 months, a payment plan with no extra charge. I want this to be affordable for beginners. And when I needed this kind of training, I had to pay £5,000 plus to get it. This is the first time we've run it. So this is a beta price because it's the first time. You know, if a Zoom goes wrong, we're going to be like, you paid the beta price, you have to let us get away with it. But it will obviously go up the next time we do it. But you know, I do want this to be affordable, because I think that the people with the least amount of confidence and the people that don't know how to get the opportunities aren't the people that can pay £5,000 or £10,000 for this. And why should you have to suffer for that? So we're not going to add on anything for you to pay over the 6 months. It's completely up to you how you want to do it. But there's no 24-hour bonus to force you in the first 24 hours. Like, we want this to be a considered decision that you make, because you know that it's time that you get really visible. So just to go over everything you need to present confidently with clarity and how to get the opportunities to do that. 6 weekly live training sessions and Q&As with both me and Andrea. A bonus dealing with negativity session that isn't a 24-hour bonus. We've taken that out. You are going to get that anyway. And watch out for an email towards the end of this week. You are going to just die when you see who is coming in to give you that masterclass. It's going to be brilliant. And a private community for support. Now, just before we go on to questions, if you've got questions, I just need to let you know the challenge winners for this week. So anybody who is on this page, you need to PM me your address or email. So a one-to-one with me, Danielle Edwards, was picked out to win that. This was done completely at random. And luckily, I don't really know any of the people, so it's going to be fun. Mulberry passport holder goes to Anne, I bet I say this wrong, Tui. My favorite business books are going to Emma Felgate, and the Fortnum and Mason hamper to Amanda Cook. So congratulations. But if you didn't win one of these prizes and you still did the challenge this week, I am really hoping you got your presentation done and you really learned something, because that's what the real prize is for me. So that is the link to the sales page. If you want to go and have a look, there's a few testimonials of people we've worked with on there, Q&As and that kind of thing. So just go and check it out on the bit.ly link, bit.ly/Lisa Presenter. But what I would really love is to hear any questions from you. So I'm going to stop sharing and go to the chat. Oh, see if I'm doing anything wrong. Oh, there you go. Shelley's put the link in. When is this running? Shelley, when is the first day that it's running? And remember that you don't have to do it live. We always, in everything I do, apart from my mastermind, give you lifetime access to everything you buy, because it's important that you do this inner work in your own time. And you might need to listen to things a few times as well.
I'll answer that, Lisa.
Oh,
it starts on the 2nd of August. It runs for 6 weeks. Last module is the 6th of September, and it's on Tuesdays at 1 p.m.
Brilliant. And you can catch up. So please don't worry if you can't make all of them live. That's okay. Is this suitable for people who aren't looking to talk on stages? Yeah, I think this is suitable however you want to present your business. If you're going to be going to a networking thing, you're going to need it for that. If you're going to do Facebook Lives and social media, you're going to need it for that. If you're going to ever go onto people's podcasts or train in people's memberships, you're going to need it for that. It's for any kind of presenting your business. Really.
Can I jump in as well, Lisa? And it's, to be honest,
yeah,
even
sure.
if it's simply, when you're in meetings and, can I just say, entre nous, as in what happens in this masterclass stays this masterclass. Remember, I used to work on Loose Women. So I know what it's like when you're in a room full of really large personalities, and it can be really challenging to get your point across. Now, for you, that might be in a meeting, just at work. You might not even have a forward-facing job, but just to learn the confidence of how to put your point across in a meeting without losing a voice and stumbling and going red and crying in the toilets, all the things that we have all done at some point. It actually all comes down to self-belief and knowing how to present yourself well. So even if your stage may be tiny, and it may just be in meetings at work, or even preparing for job interviews, or for, like you say, pitching your own business within your own community, it will all help. It doesn't have to be a global platform. The skills that you're going to learn here will help you on a micro level as well as a macro level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it would have helped me even when I was in work, I think, like corporate work, it would have helped there. Is there an audio version like OTM? Yeah, we'll always give you an audio version, and we'll always give you captions. I just want to say thank you for the last challenge. It's been amazing. Good. I'm really pleased that you learned from it. Oh, I pronounced it right. Thank you so much for this week's challenge. No worries at all. That's my issue when on an author panel. Yeah, author panels are the same. Percentage-wise, how much of the course is mindset stuff and how much is practical tips? It's kind of 50-50, I'd say. Yeah, about 50-50. My stuff is more the strategic sort of side. There's a bit of Andrea's stuff that's strategic. So obviously she knows how to talk to the journalists and that kind of thing. And then there's confidence from both of us, but mainly from Andrea. So it's all a bit mixed in with each other because they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrea. I've followed your career from the beginning. That's be sweet. When does the cart close? It closes on Monday, a week today at 10 p.m. But remember, there's no rush to come in straight away. I don't want you to come in through FOMO. We haven't done a 24-hour bonus. Come in if you only come in if you know you want to be visible, you want to get your message out there, you want to sell more, and you know that something's holding you back doing that. Can we ask you for help with our businesses? Yeah, that's what we're going to be there for. That's what the Q&As are for. And also we're going to be in a Facebook group, so I'll be able to help you in there. Is the module on podcast different from content in Podcast More? Yes, this isn't really about how to do a podcast. This isn't the how to make a podcast, which is what Podcast More is about. This is how to deal with being interviewed and interviewing on a podcast. So it's more the presenting side of it. Good, I'm glad this has helped you. Oh, well, I'm enjoying meeting you too, Sophia. In Podcast More, we cover quite a lot of interview stuff. How is it different? This is the confidence of being interviewed rather than these are the 5 questions you should ask type things. Can't wait to get started. When will it run again? We don't know. I'll be honest with you, we don't know if it will run again. We have no idea. We just happened to have a period of time when we could both do it in amongst all our other things. So we want to help as many of you as possible. So we're not sure. I think I'm going to sign up, checking the best way to pay. I'm in. Amazing. So nice to see you in. I'm really looking forward to working with you. What you said at the beginning about believing some people just have natural charisma stuck home. Can you teach someone to be charismatic? Yes. You can't. I wasn't charismatic. Like, I just wasn't. I was so nervous and awkward and geeky, and I just wasn't a charismatic person. And I think now that people do think that I'm quite charismatic and have confidence, but that's a learned behavior that's come through me being confident, through me being calm and knowing what I want to say and knowing my message and being happy to talk about it. What do you think about that question, Andrea? Do you think you can teach someone to be charismatic?
I do, because I think most of the time when we aren't coming across as charismatic, it's because we aren't coming across as our true selves. And so often that's because we're so scared and we're so worried about what the other person is thinking about us. And actually, what you're going to learn is actually how to flip that around. And so that rather than being so worried that this person likes us, we will both show you actually that you can. One of the best ways to turn that almost that nerve valve off is to become so interested in the other person that you forget about being nervous, and it just makes you relax, and then you start being yourself. And then once you start doing that, you then become genuinely interested. And remember, what we think of as charisma really is someone being interested in us. We think they were amazing.
That's so
they
true.
were so charismatic, and actually all it is they were interested in us, and we felt that energy. That a lot of the time
able to show it. Yeah, that energy. That is it. You feel the energy from someone because you know they are interested. That's so true. It's a 6-week course. How long is the support group open? It'll be open for the full 6 weeks. Now, normally I do leave it open for a couple of weeks more just in case you have questions, and we'll probably will do that again this time. Do I absolutely need to have started my own business to participate? Not at all. There'll be other situations in your life where you need to be confident to present yourself. So feel free to come on in. Thanks for answering about when again. Could it be made evergreen? We aren't sure yet what we're doing with it. Remember first meeting you and now you're a different person. Yeah, I totally am in 6 years, but that's what happens. I'm glad that you guys are excited as we're excited about it. How do you remain authentic when you are learning behaviors? Because it still comes from you. You're not changing who you are. You're learning how to do things and how to change a confidence and a behavior without changing who you are. A good example of this is I'm authentic and I talk about when things go wrong. I talk about when I've done stupid things wrong, and I just talk about it really openly to my audience. That builds trust. My audience then trust me, and that's really important. So even though I'm learning how to do things better, I'm still authentic about when I do things wrong, and you can still be you and learn things at the same time. So please don't worry. I used to be a pro-life speaker speaking on stages, but since an abusive relationship, I've lost my confidence. I need to get it back as I'm about to launch my own online business. Yeah, so many things can affect our confidence. Divorce affected mine. Being bullied affected mine. People being nasty to me online affected mine. So many things. Sometimes you can affect yourself by things you believe about yourself. So lots of things can affect it. Abusive relationships, been there. So has Andrea. We've been there. We understand. And you're not going to let that stop you anymore, because otherwise others win. and we want you to win. UK time zone, we're talking here. This sounds like life-changing training. Thanks for bringing it to life. No worries. How can you learn how to talk to people like you know them when you don't know them? We'll teach you it. But basically, you're not talking. When I'm talking to you guys now, I'm not talking to all of you at the same time. I'm picturing you, one person, you, and the problems that you have and the things that I know you need help with. I have an ideal client, and we'll talk about ideal clients, and that makes everything easier. Okay. Are we there? Are them all? Oh, no. Will there be workbooks? There aren't workbooks for this, just because you can't really workbook this. It's about learning. You're all going to have individual issues and things that you need to work on, which is why we do the extended Q&A, because workbooks aren't really going to work. Is it too late to do the challenge? No, you've got a week to do the challenge. It's staying open, the pop-up group. So go back into the pop-up group, which is create your perfect presentation. You can do the challenge. Having children affected my confidence. Yeah, it does. Because you lose your identity a little bit. You become somebody that you don't even know. And menopause is another one that affects your confidence. Look, there's so many things that can do this to us. On the website link, it says Wednesdays, but you mentioned Tuesdays. Sorry, it's Wednesdays. We got that bit wrong. It is Wednesdays. It does feel like you're speaking to each one of us one-on-one. I'm going to teach you how to do that, by the way. Okay, I think we're there. First session is Wednesday, 2nd of August. Really hope to see you in there. I will really enjoy teaching this. It's not something that I teach a lot of, so I know I'm going to love it. I do love the inner work. And this is Andrew's bag all over as well. So we're going to have some fun with it. We're not going to make it like miserable. We're going to make sure that you come out the other side feeling so empowered to be able to start really showing up as you need to show up, because that is what it's all about. But thank you for being here tonight. And I appreciate you giving us this hour and a bit, because I know that you always have choices of where you can be. So I'm really appreciative of you being here. And if you don't come in, that's okay too. I hope that you have learned something from this anyway. And for those of you coming, I'll see you in the group. And Andrea, I will see you in the group as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me tonight. It's been amazing, amazing. I'm excited to see you all.
It's going to be fun. See you later, guys. Any questions, put it in the presenter group.